Well, it was a volatile political year in 2014, but things are expected to heat up in 2015 as candidates take steps for a presidential run in 2016. Joining us this morning to look into the political crystal ball, former state GOP chairman Marty Connors and Democratic strategist Richard Dickerson. Happy New Year to both of you guys.
Happy New Year.
First of all, I want to jump right into something real quickly, and that is the economy before we talk about candidates, okay, which is doing better. So any president, anytime the economy's bad, they're going to get the blame for it, and this president has. So when things are going good, does he get the credit?
Well, I wouldn't say things are going good. I think after 7 years, 6 years, things have to eventually start heading in the right direction. I'll remind your viewers that when Obama took office, there were 28 million Americans on food stamps. It's now 46 million.
Richard?
Well, you know, I would disagree completely with Marty. The last quarter, 5% growth. Quarter before, 4.6% growth. Thousands, millions of new jobs. When Mitt Romney ran for president, he said his goal was after 2 terms to have unemployment at 6%. Unemployment currently is at 5.8%. So what we have to do, I think, is when there's good news, you've got to get some of the credit, because surely you get all the credit when there's bad news. And then for the last several months, this administration has been battered because of events and how inept they were.
Well, I will tell you, we have an economic analyst coming on Wednesday, so we'll take a look at some of the intellectual side of the numbers. Anyway.
On the economy, one thing you do want to calculate is not just the percentage who are unemployed, but the percentage of people who are no longer looking for
a job.
Yeah, so it's a
smaller
smaller
pool.
Yeah.
All right, but let's talk about what's coming up here. We got a lot of events coming up throughout this year, including Hillary Clinton. Is she going to announce by when, what time? But if she does not decide to run, okay, which I know is a long shot. Okay, right. Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, who are we looking at here?
Well, I think if the former Secretary of State Clinton decides not to run, I think the current senators from Virginia, both Tim Kaine and Mark Warner, are going to be attractive candidates. I think former Energy Secretary, my friend Bill Richardson, would be an attractive candidate. I think the current Vice President Joe Biden would surely would step in, and I think that you probably would also. And there are some others that we don't know
Marty,
about.
you're smiling. Why are you smirking?
First of all, I can't imagine Hillary not running, but I don't know what Saturday Night Live would do without Joe Biden.
Well, that would be entertaining, no doubt. Now, let's talk about entertaining, though. You got a host
Calvary charge
of Republican candidates that could take steps. Well, I know we got a graphic up here, and we don't have time to run through them all, but there's a ton of them. You kind of got 2 camps, though, don't you? You got
three.
Well, you got the Jeb Bush, Rand Paul aren't conservative enough, right? Moderate conservatives to the Ted Cruz's, Rick Santorum's. Tell me, how do you handicap the race here?
Okay, I'd say there's 3 groups. I'd say there's sort of the establishment group. Let's say Jeb Bush, for example, Chris Christie. Then you have the fastest growing wing in the Republican Party would be the Libertarian wing, which would be Paul. Then you have your traditional conservatives, which branch out into different types: evangelical-based, fiscal-based, the Scott Walkers, the Ted Cruzes, the Rick Perrys, and so on. I don't know who's going to win this thing. It's a cavalry charge.
Yeah, but I think you've got a lot of candidates, and the reality of it is very few of those announced or soon to announce people can get to 270. So how do you get to 270? And the reality of it is, you know, Mike Huckabee says that he's running, or he's going to look at running. The vast majority of the people who are announced or thinking about running have about as much chance of winning the White House as UAB has of winning the National Football Championship.
Okay, well now, but you mentioned how do you get to 270? To me, this is the key, and I'll let you weigh in. Who is the most likable? Because that seems to be where the GOP has failed in the last couple elections.
Most likable?
Most likable.
Well, you know, that's hard to say because, you know, I love them all.
Right.
But, no, I don't know, because we haven't seen them out, they haven't been out in the fire yet. I mean, there's great personalities. For example, Chris Christie is a great personality.
Sure.
Fun. You know, I like his style, but can he win in the South? That's another question altogether.
Yeah, you know, but I think the likability question is very important. But the challenge of it is how will they play, as Marty says, on the road? Okay. Jeb Bush hasn't been out in 12 years. Hillary hasn't been. It's been a long time, and the country has changed. And the country has changed.
Country has changed. Okay.
How do they go out and engage the voters and have the voters respond? And what's their message?
I think that's a big part of it, the messaging. All right, now real quickly, we do have a bunch of issues, laws we need to be looking at that are going to be bills that are going to need to go to the president's table to sign. what the most pressing that you think with the GOP majority in the Senate and the House will push him to sign and come a compromise?
I'd say the first one was Keystone. Okay. I mean, that is an obvious 80-20 favorable position in the United States and Obama, and a small sliver of environmentalists are keeping that from happening.
I think that
the next one after the Keystone,
you know, I think they're going to find some agreement on something dealing with immigration. I think they have to. And I think the larger issue as we look at this new Congress is their ability to govern. So you've got a majority in the House, the majority in the Senate. How do you govern? What will be the priorities for Boehner? What will be the priorities for McConnell? And how do they articulate those priorities and message it to the public and to this president?
All right. Guys, I really appreciate it. Can't spend enough time because it's going to be fun this year. Thank you so much. All right. Some